and we have Skyrim's grave. Hold on, that's my bad. That is actually my bad. I'm kidnapping you now, chat, because y'all did not see me mess that up. Skyrim's graveyards are weird.
We recently started to wonder, where do they go? And I don't mean Sovngarde or Alduin's stomach. I'm talking about physically. Like, where do the bodies go? In game, they probably just lay here forever, but lore-wise, what happens to their corpses? Where do they get buried? That
They lay there forever, like that. That is the lore implication here for a game.
question led me here, to Winterhold. Now, Winterhold is technically one of Skyrim's major cities.
Are you not cold? Are you not cold in this weather, Mr. Sir?
It has a Jarl. It has the College of Mages. But when you get here, you're really just kind of looking at 7 buildings and then 4 other burnt down ones. I mean, remember, this is supposed to be a major hold for Skyrim. When I got here, I started looking for a graveyard, which I honestly figured I wouldn't be able to find. I mean, the ground is frozen solid. So I was also looking for a Hall of the Dead, but in poking around, I couldn't find one of those either. So I figured the college might have something. I mean, it's this massive structure. It's been around centuries. Mages definitely die here. College has the Arcanium, which is a huge library, the Halls of Countenance and Attainment, and underneath this whole thing is a dungeon called the Midden. And I looked around there too, and it's basically it's just this creepy underground dungeon with nowhere to put bodies aside from this skeleton. In all of Winterhold, there's no
only
graves,
one skeleton in the
no
whole
urns,
dungeon?
no Hall of the Dead. Just, I mean, what do they do with people that die here? So
Okay, but like let's be so for real here. I don't know of any games that would put, or of any studios that would make a game that would think this heavily about like the social implications of, you know, what is going on. Like, if somebody were to die, where are we gonna bury them in this town? Because let's be so for real, there are not a bunch of games that like are gonna think that hard into it. Like, I'm pretty sure there are graveyards in Skyrim, but like not every town is gonna have one, because that's a lot of that's like a lot of work. Because yeah, it's an open world and you can probably fit a graveyard somewhere in every single town, but do we really want to add all of those structures? And to be fair, there are probably only, if there are any, if I haven't played Skyrim all the way through. I don't even think I've hit like a halfway yet, which I don't know. We might get to playing it at some point, because I am itching to play it. But like, I don't see them putting a graveyard in maybe more than like 2 or 3 towns at max. And even then, the graveyard probably is for some sort of like significant story beat, if it's there. Because like I again, I just, it would be too much.
at this point, my thought process
But I get the
was,
question.
one,
I mean, this is
nobody dies here.
interesting.
2, they just kind of chuck people off of the mountain. Or
Easy
3,
Viking funeral.
they
Just send them out in the middle of the
transport their
lake and
dead
light it
somewhere
on
else and
fire.
then have them bury them somewhere else. So I checked out Dawnstar. It's quite a bit bigger than Winterhold. It also has 2 mines, which I found out because the NPCs wouldn't stop talking about them. I couldn't get away from all the mines talk. It has a bar where you can rent a room, and it even has a museum. But again, no Hall of the Dead or tombstone to be seen. So I started to check the outskirts, and that's when I saw that tower off in the distance. But in hiking up here, I think it's just a lighthouse. I had this whole thing where like I didn't understand why that they kept all this wood here. And then I started I started to get more footage and everything, and it clicked. This is a lighthouse. Why seriously, why would they store wood up here? That was my
Wait, so I might not be educated enough here, but would a lighthouse in these times just be filled with wood and get lit? Like, is that just it? Is that how it would happen? Like, or well, quote unquote, in these times, like in this kind of setting, I mean, I might be a little cooked, but that, like, is that how you would go about it?
whole thing is like, why would they put wood up here when they could just take it down and use it at their house? It's a lighthouse, actually. That tower over there, though, that is a church. That is also not a Hall of the Dead, nor is it a graveyard. So Dawnstar's got 2 mines, a museum, towers full of lumber, but nowhere to bury their dead.
I will say, I like how he's like sitting in game, like in these settings, and how he's walking around in these settings. Like it, I like it. I like it a lot.
I'll be honest with you, I've only ever been to Falkreath a couple times in all my years playing Skyrim. It's not a place that the main quest really takes you to, and there's only a couple of side quests that really even bring you through Falkreath. So when I walked in here for what was essentially the first time, I didn't really know what to expect. There's something I realized when I first got here, and it's that the graveyard's not a part of the town. The town's a part of the graveyard. The businesses have names like Dead Man's Drink and Grave Concoctions. There are tombstones everywhere. And this isn't just some local cemetery. Falkreath apparently has the biggest graveyard in all of Skyrim. But in order to know why that's significant, I think we have to take a look at what everybody else is doing first. Because I went from 2 cities that literally do nothing to their dead to a town that's literally built around death. Now I needed to know if Falkreath was the norm or the exception. So we visit
It's got to be the
Solitude.
exception.
And Solitude does have a graveyard. If you want to count 8 tombstones as a graveyard.
It's a graveyard though. Like, I mean, you got what you were looking for. And Loki, I might have been right. We'll see. We will see.
See, the tombstones are just outside of the catacombs here. When I originally came down here
they
to
have a
look
whole
around,
catacomb.
there were a few...
Wait a minute, there are a bunch of catacombs though in Skyrim, aren't there? So like, why are we talking about graveyards if we know what's happening with the dead, clearly?
Skeletons that I had to take care of, which, like, to me, that means somebody's not doing their job right. We'll talk about that here in just a second. But there, I mean, it's not like
now you're
security,
judging people's work.
And there's a lot of slots down here for people, which it's a lot bigger than I expected for what is essentially the Hall of the Dead's basement. If you're seeing this video inside of the first week it's out, there's a hype button down below. Smaller creators like myself can use that as an advantage to kind of get a boost in the algorithm. So if you're enjoying the video, please do hit that. It helps me a ton. And when I finally met Steer, I think is his name, sorry if I mispronounced that, and talked to him, he talked about wanting to give the guy who got executed right when you first walk in a proper Nord burial. And that got me thinking, what is a proper Nord burial? We're going to take a little bit of a detour, but
it's a proper Nord burial. Fudge! Oh my god, chat. Chat, you are so going into the trunk of my car. Is a proper Nord burial just like a Viking burial type beat? Or how did they spin it?
I think this is important. So I did some digging, no pun intended, and it turns out Nord burial traditions are a little more complicated than just throwing somebody in the ground. First off, not every Nord gets buried. Some choose cremation, or what they call a fire burial. And that's what these burial urns are for.
Okay.
They're not just decoration. And if you've ever gone rifling around in there and found a couple of gold coins, that's ashes you got all over your hand. And first of all, yuck. Secondly, shame on you. Some Nords usually.
Why are you shaming on me for wanting to get a little bit of money? The economy's bad right now, and I would like some coin. And the dead don't need that. So I feel you're just messing with my bag. Got me, slime?
Nobility or great warriors get what's called a ship burial. Basically, like the Vikings,
You light it
they
on
go
fire.
down with the ship. Either on fire or sometimes they'll entomb
Yeah.
the person inside of the ship, inside of a tomb. The Halls of the Dead are ran by the priests of Arche, the god of life and death. These priests are trained to prepare the bodies and perform the rites, basically ensuring that the dead are properly laid to rest. And if you know anything about Skyrim, you know sometimes the dead get back up. So you've got cremation, ship burial.
Sometimes they do get back up. And sometimes we have to slice through them and then loot their bodies, but that's only sometimes.
Burial urns, coffins, catacombs, and then for really important Nords, high kings, or again, great warriors, sometimes they'll get their own barrows. But this is more of an ancient tradition. And then there's Sovngarde, but that's a whole other thing. I want to give a quick shout out to the most consistent people on the channel members. So shout out to ShaggyStone69 and Foostar the Real 8611. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for sticking around over the last month or so. I hope you're enjoying the videos, and if anybody else wants to join, you can check those offers out down below. Getting back on track, I headed to Markarth. Now, Markarth's Hall of the Dead was actually locked when I got there, which is like, fine, I guess you take security seriously, but I've got sticky little fingers, so I made my way inside. And there wasn't even a skeleton.
Why did he do that hand gesture for it? That was kind of sus, man. I also would like to go ahead and take this moment to say that, like, I like how he inputs, like, how he input the hype and then just now the channel members, like, that was, it didn't really take away from it, I'm not gonna lie to you. And I can appreciate that.
Or a Draugr in here, so what are we doing? And I actually really like Markarth's Hall of the Dead. It's all carved into stone, and there's stairs coming up here, and it's got this really nice.
This is making me really want to play Skyrim because now I want to look at some of these freaking.
One thing that does freak me out though is that the priest lives directly connected to the Hall of the Dead. Usually,
I want to explore these environments that I've never been to.
There's practically no walls between him and the corpses he tends to. Next stop I made was Riften, and Riften is interesting because it's got to be the most Riften version of what a graveyard is. It can't be normal because nothing in Riften is normal. And just the thing is, okay, you've played Skyrim, I've played Skyrim. That mausoleum right over there, that's a secret entrance to the Thieves Guild. I mean, it makes sense for Riften. It's like even the dead are so corrupt that they can't help.
Also, hold on, is this like burial site 4 or 5?
All this makes sense because I knew Riften was funky the second I showed up because they robbed me at the front gate. They do also have a Hall of the Dead right under the Temple of Mara as well. A couple interesting notes about Riften's Hall of the Dead. Alessandra is the only one who works here. It's just this creepy underground dungeon with.
I wanted to pause the video. Wait, where were we? Are we here?
Alessandra is
Yeah.
the only one who works here, which isn't exactly normal from what I've seen based on the other cities I've been to.
Oh wait, I just remembered. I was gonna pause. I was gonna say, so this town has two different burial sites. So I was definitely incorrect on saying that there were maybe only three. But still, it seems like these are semi important places. Like this one is under a temple, and they also had a graveyard. So like I don't know. I feel like if I was planning out a town and we had a temple made, I wouldn't want there to be a graveyard when there's a burial site under the temple, unless a burial site under the temple is meant to be sacred. I wouldn't know lore implications here, but yeah, it seems like I was right in that these burial sites are more or less kind of important. I want to say, at least it seems like they have some sort of lore implication, but I was wrong on there only being maybe three. However, it probably does not add up to however many cities there are in this dang game.
So far. Um, she tends it alone, and she does kind of a bad job of keeping it all together. This is kind of where I found out that some people get coffins and some people don't, also, which I thought was kind of crazy. Windhelm also has a public graveyard inside of the city walls, which I thought was interesting because it can obviously only get so big. But there's an entire
The
walled section
NPC, bro.
inside of the city, which is not normal compared to what we've seen so far. When I walked into the Hall of the Dead, the keeper said, "This is the Hall of the Dead."
Someday you'll end up here.
True, but stop making me think about that right now. I'm trying to figure out what the graves look like. She also mentioned the ground having the thaw before they could bury bodies, so one of our previous thoughts tracks, which is cool. We're
Okay.
learning. Honestly, I think this Hall of the Dead is kind of dingy compared to some of the other ones we've looked at so far. And really, it seems like the only kind of regulation that they have in these places is the Shrine to Arche. Stopping in Morthal, I wasn't sure what I was going to find because it's not a walled city. And at this point, I've noticed that non walled cities seem to not have a Hall of the Dead
You seem
or a
kind of
formal
short
graveyard. It seems that they either take them
here.
to a different city or they give
My
them
bad.
ship burials or they do something else with the bodies. But when I was looking around the town, I actually saw this burnt down house. And I don't know if you can see it right back there. I see something that looks a little bit promising, so we're going to go check that out. So this is kind of a win. It is a graveyard, but it's different from the graveyards that we've been seeing. This graveyard doesn't have any actual tombstones, though. This is just a pile of rocks. I think the term is actually a cairn. I wasn't sure of any lore reason, and when
So
I
is it
looked
like
into it, I
communal
couldn't find
grave type
anything
of
either.
beat? Like
So
multiple
my
people are
easiest jump in
buried
logic
here?
is that it's a swamp town. It's going to be a
Or
lot less solid, and gravestones just aren't really worth it because over time they'll shift and it'll look worse. At the same time, though, right next to this river with all of that sinking stuff is a bunch of snow. So it's definitely a colder area of the map. It's all pretty interesting because it kind of kills my walled versus non-walled cities theory, but it does kind of replace it with another one. Some places don't do anything. Some places do the absolute bare minimum to get away with it, and some places build entire systems around it. If any city was going to have an actual system, it was going to be Whiterun. Whiterun's Hall of the Dead and Catacombs are immaculate. It's the exact opposite of something like
okay.
Morthal. Whiterun can very clearly throw money at something like a Hall of the Dead. It looks well maintained, there's all sorts of banners and candles. Anders seems to be highly knowledgeable, well educated, and interested in taking care of the dead.
Whiterun is also one of the first towns, I think, right? That you end up visiting,
Stepping in there,
if
though,
I remember
Anders,
correctly.
there were a couple skeletons that I had to take care of. Um, so I don't know what the deal was there.
Oh,
But
look
beyond
at that.
that,
You
I
upset him.
think Whiterun's
You
Hall
upset
of the
him.
Dead
That
is
was
a
you.
beautiful tribute to the fallen people of Whiterun, and it's a great place to be able to spend the rest of your days. What happened? Well, you know what I mean. I saved Falkreath for last because I think it's the most understated yet important part of Skyrim's love-hate relationship with death. To really understand Falkreath, you have to understand its history because it's more than a town with a big graveyard. The graveyard came first and the town sprouted up after it. Falkreath is called the Hero's Graveyard, and that's not just some nickname that the locals came up with. It's got a reputation all across Skyrim that for centuries this was the place where warriors, jarls, and kings asked to be buried. If you died with honor, Falkreath is where they buried you. I'm not like an Elder Scrolls historian or anything, but I do my research. Basically, back in the first era, Falkreath was a battleground. It's kind of always been a battleground because of its location. It's located right on the border of Cyrodiil, Hammerfell, and Skyrim. So the three nations have always kind of gone back and forth over this territory. I'm gonna get this name wrong, but the town was founded by a guy named Bjarfrud. Fuck, here's the name. Here it is. Sorry, I'm trying to read it. I can't. Basically, his whole deal was he drove out the beastly inhabitants, wildlife, out of the area, chopped down a bunch of trees, and made Falkreath. But even before that, people were being buried here and died here. The most significant moment in Falkreath's history, from what I read, so this is my kind of opinion on everything, is there was a high
this
king.
This is my opinion on
stay
it.
with me. His name was Kiorik the White, and he was battling the Elysian Empire, and he died defending Falkreath, losing it in the process. His son then came back after he became High King years later. He was like, right, I'm going to go take back what my dad lost. And when he went to do so, he died in the exact same spot as his dad did, right here in Falkreath. The second guy's name was Hogue, which, all right. I bring all that up because there used to be a statue somewhere around here between the second and fourth era. And it probably got destroyed because of all the conflict in the area, but by the time we get here, it's not here anymore. And there's no markers,
Damn, that's
there's no monuments to any of this.
There's a lot of lore here.
It's just all of the graves that are in the town. Falkreath should feel like you're walking through Arlington National Cemetery. But instead, the businesses have names like Dead Man's Drink and Grave Concoctions and, was it Bone Light Farms? Something silly like that. The alchemist in town told me that this is all basically a running joke. And I think that's...
I was about to say that. I was like, it seems like it's a bit of a joke. Like, they're trying to make light of it. You know, like taking something very serious and making light of it in a game, just for the funny haha factor. Which, okay, I like it.
It's crazy that there's a running joke about a place where several high kings are buried. One of the farmers said that the graveyard is ancient, and people say that, you know, there's never less graves in town. Kust over here tends to all the headstones, but nobody tells you about Kiorik the White or his son Hogue or any of that. Nobody goes, hey, 2 high kings died right here. Isn't that badass? The lore exists in books and on the wiki, but it's not anywhere to be seen in Skyrim itself. And then there's the Hall of the Dead, which might be the strangest part of it all. I guess
interesting.
It kind of makes...
Why are these lore pieces not in game? Why are they outside of game? Like, I don't like when games do things like that. Like, whenever Bungie had, like, their whole lore stuff outside of Destiny 1. like some of their Grimoire cards, it takes away from the experience, especially as a player that wants to be a lore whore. I feel like it hurts that aspect of your game, which I know isn't always the most important. A lot of people overlook it. I mean, I play Destiny, and some of the people that I play with just skip over every cutscene. They don't care for the dialogue. They're just there for the gameplay, and they're there to shoot aliens. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. And I'll make sure to get my run of the campaign in without having to, deal with any of that. Without having to deal with the skipping of cutscenes and things, because I like it.
Sense, but going inside of the Hall of the Dead, it's just the guy's house. The priest and his assistant live here. There's no crypt, there's no coffins or urns or anything. Their Hall of the Dead is literally just the priest's home. All of the burials happen outside at the graveyard, which I guess makes sense. Over time, I imagine that they did kind of, well, I bet they never even really started the tradition that the rest of Skyrim has. The graveyard has been around longer than the town has. And the priest, Runil, might be one of the most interesting characters in the city as well. He's a high elf, and if you've been paying attention, that's not normal. Usually priests of Archay are Nords. I'm not going to go into his whole history, but
That's
Runil
interesting
used to be an
too.
Aldemiri battle mage, and he's fought in wars, and he's killed quite a few people. So coming into town and becoming the priest of Archay and tending over all of the graves is kind of his way of making up and atoning for all of that, which I think is kind of cool. But again, the game doesn't tell you any of this. You have to, so he gives you a quest to go find his notebook in a cave, and you have to go into the cave, then get the notebook, then read the notebook before you return it to him. And you have to, if you're in dialogue with him, you can ask the right questions and coax that out of him. And it's all there, but it's super buried under the surface, just
Got
like
it. So you
everything
gotta
else in
be
Falkreath.
very heavily
And
invested
there's
to figure
one
things
thing
out.
that I haven't mentioned, and it's that just outside of Falkreath, tucked into the hills in the west of town, there's a door, a black door. And behind it is the Dark Brotherhood Sanctuary. The Assassin's Guild chose to set up right next to the town with the biggest graveyard in Skyrim. And it makes you think whether or not Falkreath knows just how deep their relationship with death goes. I don't know, but I'd like to find out. So where do the bodies go in Skyrim? I guess that kind of depends on where you die. If you want more videos like this, hit the subscribe button down below. It's kind of a new sub-format I'm trying, so if this interested you and kept your attention all the way down to the end, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. Give me some thoughts, and let me know what I can do better. Thank you all.
I really enjoyed this video. Honestly, this makes me want to play Skyrim, and I also like the way that he presented all the information. It was a great video. I really liked it. I give it a nice 8.7 out of 10. It was great. It was phenomenal. I will